Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for a radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all could be with us. Also, tuning in to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Well, whether you are talking to your family and friends or watching the news, you know that mass shootings have been a big topic of conversation. In fact, the Washington Post recently reported that there have been over 300 mass shootings in 2022 alone, meaning there hasn't been a single week this year that there has not been a mass shooting. But what sometimes gets forgotten are the victims and their families after the attention may fade from the media. And those are individuals that definitely need our help. And also when it comes to the communities that are experiencing the unthinkable, they also need that support as well. That's why we're excited to welcome Anita Busch to our program today. Anita is someone who knows this firsthand. She's the president and co-founder of Victims First and a key co-founder of the National Compassion Fund. We're going to talk to her about the needs of the community, but also where help can be gotten and how you all can be a part of that as well. Anita, thank you so much for the time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus. Thank you for having me on.
Well, this is such an important topic, and it is something, Anita, I know, of course, being in this industry, that is so true. You know, we talk about a lot of these things in the news for a while until something else kind of pushes, it out of the focus. But I want to talk about your own personal story. What is it that made you want to get involved in this mission?
Well, I was a journalist for many years, and in 2012, in July 20th, 2012, my cousin Michaela was murdered in a mass shooting in Aurora, Colorado during the midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises. And afterwards, we, the victims, when I say we, the victims' families were working their tail ends off to try to get resources and funds and keep victims from being re-victimized, because the community was in chaos, the victims were in trauma, and we just did not want what we went through to happen to anyone else. And then in 2017, my family's experienced two mass shootings. Stacy survived by running for her life at the Vegas concert with bullets flying over her head, and she survived. But it is a very personal mission for me to make sure that the next set of families are helped and not re-victimized.
And again, I do appreciate you sharing that, Anita, and also for the great work you're able to do with Victims First. We're going to let our audience know where they can get more information. So your organization is made up of people, Anita, who have been personally impacted by mass casualty events like what you mentioned. How important is that to do this work, even with it being so personal for you?
Yeah, we are comprised of 2 decades of mass shooting victims, and I hate to say that it's gone on that long, but it's families from Columbine and Virginia Tech and, oh my gosh, Oak Creek Sikh Temple and Newtown. And it's also the next generation of mass shooting victims. I can't believe I'm saying that either, from Orlando and Vegas and Parkland. And what we do is we help victims stay on their feet financially with immediate funds. We educate and guide communities who have gone through this in the aftermath of how to best organize without re-victimizing the set of families that they so desperately want to help. And on our website, victimsfirst.org, you can read, all about who's involved in this organization.
You mentioned the importance of not re-victimizing individuals, Anita, and I think a lot of times we don't think about that, especially, again, I'll throw my industry into this. A lot of times that the way that we cover stories, unfortunately, the things that we choose to focus on. So I want to ask you this question. How can we, all of us collectively, prevent re-victimizing people who have already victims of these events like we're talking about here?
Well, first off, I would encourage the communities to start immediately a centralized victims fund where 100% goes in and 100% goes out in cash payments to the victims. That eliminates most of the fraud, and it also provides, it also ensures public donor intent while actually helping the victims directly. And the victims who are provided those funds can use them in any way they see fit to cope and manage the trauma any way they know that they personally need. The other thing is language. And for media, I would say no notoriety policy is, elevate the stories of the victims and elevate the stories of the heroes and downplay the people who do these acts, because most of them want notoriety for these, for their evil acts. The other is language. A lot of people don't think about this, but saying the first anniversary, it's not something to celebrate. Remembrance is great, or first year mark is wonderful to refer to that as. Also, healing for the families of the deceased, there's not really healing. You learn to carry this heavy coat of grief with you at all times, and you learn to manage it, and you learn to live with it. And also, people are not sure how to speak about to people who've gone through mass shootings. You don't want to say, oh, gosh, it could have been worse. Well, for that person, it could not be worse, right?
Right.
The other thing is saying to mass shooting families of the deceased, I'm sorry you lost your daughter. The daughter was not lost. Her child was not lost. It's okay to say, I'm sorry that your child was taken from you, was stolen from you, was murdered. These are the kind of things that we talk to communities about. These are the things that we hope it gets better for the next set of victims. We make sure that victims stay on their feet financially, because it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah. So many things for us to think about. And again, I love what you mentioned about language. And there's things we don't think about, and a lot of us mean well in the things that we say, but again, not realizing the impact that it can have on those who have loved ones taken away from them or have experienced these traumas themselves. I began this conversation by mentioning that report in the Washington Post from July saying there's been over 300 mass shootings so far just in this year alone. So, one thing I hear a lot, Anita, and I'm sure you've heard this too, is people say, I didn't think this could happen here. You wouldn't think this could happen here. What do communities need to know, though, in advance in case, unfortunately, a mass tragedy does happen in their area?
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do is to become prepared and know that it can happen. We never thought it would happen to us. We never thought it would happen. My family never thought it would happen twice. It can happen. It does happen, unfortunately, and it's continuing to happen. One of the things that we ask communities to do, and we would ask anybody to do, is look on victimsfirst.org. There is a best practices for mass casualty crime. Now, that is a document that was put together over many years by victims, for communities, to let them know how to organize in the best interest of the victims as to not re-victimize the victims and to get a step ahead of what they need to do before it happens in their community.
Such an important conversation, Anita. I'm so glad we have you here to talk to us about it. Again, everyone, Anita Busch has been our guest, the president and co-founder of Victims First and key co-founder of the National Compassion Fund. The website is victimsfirst.org, victimsfirst.org. We'll make sure that we link that up on our Facebook page for our radio audience. And for those tuning in on iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, we'll make sure that we link that for you guys as well. Anita, thank you so much for the great work that you're doing and Victims First is doing, and I look forward to having you back on the program again.
Thank you, Cyrus. You've been wonderful. Really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, the pleasure's definitely all mine, and we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live, part of our News You Can Use segment here at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live, and let's go make it a great one. Take care.